So I gave Claude 1 month of real Amazon sales data, and what it actually came back with, changed the way I look at my business. Because if you're anything like me, you probably dropped a spreadsheet into ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude and, said, hey, analyze this. And, what you got back kind of made you think like, this is kind of useless. I mean, it's cool, but it's not quite there yet. And that's probably because you were using it the wrong way. Okay, so in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some real Amazon sales data and drop it into Claude and see what it actually tells me. Okay, so no random insights, just something that you can use in a real business setting. So I'm going to keep it really simple, no overcomplicated prompts. The only thing I'm going to do differently is I'm going to use a simple framework called SCAN. Okay. And that's because before I can trust anything AI tells me, I go through this framework to kind of minimize any hallucinations. So SCAN, what does that stand for? So we have S for survey, where you survey the data. Then we have C for clean, where you clean the data, and then you analyze the data, which is A for analyze. And then once you've analyzed the data, you make your next move, which is N. Okay. So pretty simple. But, if you had to stop watching the video here, your main takeaway should be don't jump straight to A for analysis, right? And that's where people start getting really funky results. So let's get right into this. We're going to try this with Claude, but you can try this with ChatGPT or any other tool, really. So I pull my Amazon sales data for the month of February straight from Amazon. And this is what the raw report looks like if you've ever looked at it. Not very nice to look at, but there's a lot of, hidden gems in here. So I'm going to take this, drop it straight into Claude and see what it can tell me. Now, I've already gone through this exercise, so I'll just show you my interaction with Claude so you can kind of get an idea of my flow and how I use the SCAN framework. Okay, so I start out, so I upload the CSV file here, and then I ask it, explain this report to me. What am I looking at? Do you understand the columns? Now, this is a very simple prompt, right? You can make it more elaborate, but I'm trying to keep things as simple as possible. But this is essentially step one. I'm just trying to survey the data, see if Claude understands the data. Okay. Now, in this case, it's actually done a pretty good job. It's, picking up columns and transaction types like orders, refunds, fees, adjustments. Very good. It's actually even given me a column by column breakdown along with descriptions. So this is really good. It tells me that not only has it picked up the columns, but it actually understands what each of those columns mean. And I've actually, I went through this, validated it against some of the raw data here, and thinks it checks out. So in this case, it did an excellent job. Now, this does not mean you skip this step, because if you do, you're going to start getting some funky results. In this case, everything checked out, but that's not always the case. Okay, so that's step one. That's survey the data. Okay, so step two, clean the data. This is another step a lot of people completely skip, and don't be that person. In my case, I know that the underlying data comes from Amazon. So I know it's good, right? Because it matches with what's deposited in my bank account. However, just because the underlying data is correct, it does not mean that the AI tool understands the way the data is presented. So it can misunderstand some of those things, and that can give you weird results. So that's why you don't skip this step. So in my case, I basically just ask, does this data need any cleaning before analysis? If so, what issues do you see, and would they affect the results? Right? In my case, it actually did flag a couple of items, and it actually categorized them by high impact, medium, and low. Okay. And, it captured things like duplicate rows, negative order totals, and some formatting issues as well. Right. And it can seem a little overwhelming, like the way this is presented. But really, you just talk to it like a human being, right? You just You just break it down one by one, and then you look into the underlying problem. So I basically just went back and asked for some sample rows. I said, first, hey, let's look at the duplicate issues, right? Give me a couple of sample rows, some order IDs. I took those order IDs, went back to the raw data, and in my case, I would take an order like this, go back to Amazon, look it up, and turns out they were not duplicates, right? It's just the way Amazon actually splits the data across multiple rows. So really, it was a non-issue, right? And then we looked at another order as well, and turns out, we validated and we looked at another example as well, and it was fine. Right. And I did the same thing again with the negative total orders. So the other issue that it identified, we looked at some orders, and again, they were also completely valid. It was just large business orders with discounts applied to them. So it was completely fine. Long story short, nothing to worry about. Like I said, there were some small formatting issues as well. A couple of uppercase, lowercase issues, some date formatting. So we actually addressed some of them. And this was the date formatting issue. If you see here, basically it had a PST after the time, and it was basically recommending that we take it off. Yeah, so I asked it to take it off, which is fine. And that was pretty much it, really. There was another issue with, the lowercase. Everything was Amazon. Here it was proper case. Nothing, only the first character capitalized. So, and that I said we can ignore. So really, it's just a couple of minutes of going back and forth. It can take a couple of minutes, but it can save you from making completely wrong decisions. And you'll see how much better it gets at this. And really, this is it. The hard part ends here. And then finally, we get to the most interesting part, which is analysis. Okay, so for analysis, I'm going to keep things very simple. Again, like I said, you can make your prompt very, very elaborate. But I'm just going to ask, what are the most important things I should know from this data? Let's see if it can pull anything useful, nothing obvious, just some, stuff that actually matters. And again, this is where things start getting, pretty good. It tells me overall the business is healthy, gives me, kind of gross and gross margins and net revenue and all that. It tells me which SKU is carrying the business. It also highlights the best margin SKU as well. And this is the part that kind of stood out to me. It identifies a few SKUs with pretty high refund rates, right? Like this one, for instance, has a 34% refund rate. So I dig a little deeper, right? Like, are these refunds from orders placed this month, or are they older returns, right? So anyways, after a bit of digging, turns out they are refunds from this month. So obviously the numbers are a little inflated. So I asked it to run an analysis of the same month refunds. And then I get a much cleaner picture. Now I can see the SKUs that actually have meaningful refunds, and which of them are just noise from low volume. For example, this one right here has 100% refund rate, but only one order and one refund. So not really, worth pursuing. But the beautiful thing is, prior to this, I would have to dig through that really boring CSV file manually. Now it gets me there in a couple of minutes, right? No more formulas. It does all of that itself. And now what? Now what do we do with this? And that's where we get to the next move. Step 4, next move. This is where things get real, right? Like, the insights are great, but what matters is what you do with them. So I could just go back to Claude and ask it for some really good next moves. Like, what can I do with, all the analysis that you've done? Or I could just go with my intuition, ask my team members to investigate some of the high refund SKUs, look into the listings, the reviews, product quality, things like that before we make any more decisions. But that's actual business decision making from the analysis that AI has done. Now, this is great data, right? Like whatever we've looked at, but it's still kind of text heavy. Obviously, there are some tables here, but I'm going to ask it to make a simple dashboard. or a visual summary of this. And let's see what it's built here. Look at that. So it's built, this gross revenue, the net payout, revenue by SKU, daily gross revenue chart. Not very interactive, but there's still some graphics here and there. Same month refund rates, gross margins. Very cool. I didn't even ask for half of this, right? Now I could push it even further, right? I asked for something even more interactive with even more insights from the data. I wasn't very specific, and look at what it came back with, right? Much more interactive now. There's an overview, there's a SKU explorer, refunds, order timing, geography, fee breakdown, and we can look into these, right? Look at that. Daily performance, gross revenue, order count, units. The SKU explorer gives a breakdown by SKU, refunds, same month refunds by dollar impact, has bubble charts here. Like, this is wild. Order timing has obviously revenue by day of the week, by the hours, orders by unit shipped. Very, very cool. Top 12 states by gross revenue, fee breakdown. Look at that. I mean, I didn't even ask for half of this, like not even one fourth of this. So this is powerful, right? This is very powerful. Okay, so as a bonus, I'm going to take it one step further, right? I'm going to ask it to turn this into a web app, right? Where I just upload data each month, and then I have the same visuals every month. Okay, so basically I'm impressed at this point. I'm like, hey, can this be built into a web app where I drop, sales data monthly, and it just builds out the dashboard every time. It could be monthly, quarterly, yearly. It would be cool if you could build this out. And then it just goes ahead and builds something out for me. And let's take a look at what is built, okay? Okay, so it's built out this HTML file for me. And this is what it looks like. Look at that. I mean, FBA dashboard, drop your Amazon report in here. So I could just, drag and drop. So I have my March file here. I'm just going to drag and drop it here, and boom, look at that. Wow. The same thing. SKU Explorer looks even better here. Like, holy cow. Look at this. I didn't actually test this out. I was just looking at this for the first time. Like, this is wild, guys. This is so cool, right? And I can actually go back to Claude and, change things. Say, hey, like, I don't like this color. Can you add this data to the chart on the first page? Like, I could just have a conversation, and ask it to make these changes, and I'll make those changes. So, this is really, really cool. So, my overall take, Claude is really good at understanding data and putting meaningful insights together, right? And helping you get to decisions faster. But really, you could use any tool for analysis like ChatGPT or Gemini. I just happen to like Claude more recently. Okay, so the final takeaway is that this isn't just a tool, it's how you use it. You still need to guide it. Don't go out and just say, analyze this, or you're going to get surface level results. Okay, so if you make one change, just make sure you scan and clean the data before you analyze it. Okay, so if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe, and I'll be back in another week or two with more content like this.